Evening all. Welcome to something I've called Just Some Waffle. Nothing interesting about this particular podcast. Alexi popped in our group chat the idea of doing a pod tonight. He was bored and, more or less, I'd like to just get some things off my mind. So welcome to an absolutely pointless show. We won't be talking about anything particularly topical. That's for tomorrow, where we'll do the first episode of the Transfer Talk podcast. So you can join me, Robbie, and I hope a guest tomorrow. If not, we'll be able to see them later this week. But Alexi's just been desperate to talk about stuff. So we were just talking before we went live about the shirt he's wearing. He decided not to wear a United shirt, but he's gone with an England shirt. Please care to explain to the viewers why?
This is a third kit from Italia 90. It's a very nice shirt. I'm not someone who... The only England shirt I have in modern times is from about 2008. It's got Rooney on the back. My mum's friend bought it for me. But yeah, I've not had any modern England shirts, but I've gone for this one. I saw it in a shop last year and I thought I had to buy it. But yeah, because, I was saying this to Ahmed before we came on, because of all the Glazer out stuff, obviously I have United shirts from previous years, but you just don't really feel like wearing them. Because I went to because we've not done a podcast since the final, have we? I went to a watch along of the final at BEC Arena in Manchester. Really great night if it wasn't for the result. But it was good because, well, no, it was weird actually because when I was going to the game, sorry, very loud motorbike outside.
No we get plenty of those down here.
Bloody hell.
It's got a fair few cylinders on that one.
Jesus. My window's shut as well. That was ridiculous.
Lord.
That was just outrageous. Yeah. So when I went to the final, I didn't wear a United shirt. For me personally, obviously I'm aware that I am still going to be attending games, and I feel that while obviously people might think that might compromise my view on the Glazers, I think obviously commercially it's my duty to hit them in that space. It's the same way maybe people who buy commercial stuff but don't go to games think maybe that's their thing. Yeah, I didn't wear a shirt to the final, and I mean at the actual arena there was probably about 1,000 people to be honest, and I didn't see many United shirts at all. If people were wearing them, it was kind of retro ones, but people just generally kind of had scarves and stuff, which was encouraging. I mean, there was the kind of a lot of people had there was Eddie Cavani flags and stuff, which were kind of
those are great. I love the fact he's getting a lot of love nowadays, especially with the challenging element of adapting to life in Manchester. But yeah,
and people had the kind of knockoff flags, but no one had actual merchandise, which is encouraging. But obviously, it's the problem that you walk around Manchester and you still see loads of people donning United kits. I'm sure if you stand outside the mega store, you will see loads of people going in and out buying a Fred the Red mug for about £25. So it's difficult, but obviously this summer we've got to have a concerted effort again to hit them commercially. But it's gone a bit. Do you think it's gone a bit quiet on the Glazer front, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And, as Alexis said, we have not done a podcast since the final, which is very strange. But, it's been very quiet. I think it's just predominantly because of the fact we had such an excitement leading up to last Wednesday. And there was a lot of hope we'd have achieved something, but sadly not the case. We'll digress into that and some other random shit in this show. But there's an opportunity tonight, because we're not going to talk about anything in particular. You can ask us questions. We've had one from Sire Prince, I think is how you say it. He says, our top 4 signings this summer. That's a topic we're going to answer later on. I'd like to talk about other waffle first. But, on the Glazer front thing, my feelings on this are that, I don't know, it's not that the fans are tired. I don't think anyone's tired of the matter. I think it is a case of we're just going through now the period where we're just still getting withdrawal symptoms from the final. We're still not feeling overly, we're not over it yet. And I think there's a lot that's riding on this Friday's meeting with the fans from Joel Glazer. So that's going to be a huge thing.
Nothing's going to come from that. it's going to be pure waffle. He's just going to spout some crap about how he's going to communicate. What it will be empty words. It will say, we endeavour to improve the club, or it will be, like what politicians say in this country, like Priti Patel, they go, I'm sorry you feel like we've got things wrong. It's not, I'm sorry we've got things wrong. It's, I'm sorry that you think we've got things wrong. There's not going to be, I mean, I'm very happy if I'm wrong about this, but it would really shock me if we hear some kind of revolutionary stance from the Glazers on Friday. I mean, I think the one good thing about losing the final, if there is any good things, is it doesn't paper any cracks now, because if we'd won, I think myself included, definitely, I'm not even going to deny that, we would all think we were the best team in the world, and we are going to win the X Factor and bloody Eurovision and all these competitions. But ultimately, that highlighted that game. We need a holding midfielder, we need a centre back, we need a right winger. So there's no real excuse for the Glazers not to invest now, because it's been, in one game, it was so stark what we needed. And you look at, obviously, there was a game, I think, on Saturday night, pretty big final.
Something happened, and me and Alexi have no idea exactly what it was.
I don't know what it was.
We went into
I
think it's safe to say we were hiding for a couple hours.
Yeah, do you know what? I think the cleverest thing I've ever done in my life was, me and my friend decided, let's just go to the cinema while it's on, because when you're in the cinema, you're kind of away from the real world. However, it was the View Cinema and Printworks, right? And the problem was that they were actually showing a screening of the final in the cinema as well, which I didn't realise until we got there. And obviously, there's a lot of pubs in Printworks, so if City had won, it would have been unbearable. But when we came out of the cinema, I checked my phone and saw it was 1-0, and I just saw so many City fans just leaving pubs. Like, they were just so like, I heard this guy go, why has he brought on Jesus and all this? And I was like, God, they really could be about to lose this. I mean, can you believe they lost?
I'm somewhat stunned, but, well, to profess to my whereabouts, on Saturday was the Championship playoff final here in England, if you're watching from outside of the country. Basically, second division winners go to the Premier League. Brentford won the game. I had to go to a Sutton United awards show, which I hosted. Which I partly hosted. I wouldn't say directly, but partially hosted, where we were handing out awards. Obviously, it's the end of the season in England now, so there's like a party we do for the fans to come and see. And thankfully, with the restrictions having eased, that was possible. Yeah, I had no idea, but I tuned in when, like, long after Havertz scored, with about 10 minutes to go, just to see on my phone, just to see what the conclusion was going to be. And even in just 10 minutes, I could tell basically just 10 minutes was basically the whole game for up to that point I started watching. Chelsea being on the back foot in parts, but just staying strong defensively. City doing everything and anything to get the goal, minus De Bruyne. And more or less, I'm not one to willow in people's misery, but that brought great joy when I saw Mahrez's shot just go flying across the crossbar there, right at the end. Because I thought, if it goes to extra time here, how are Chelsea going to get that form back? How are they going to be able to get up to the standards necessary to win the game or hang on? How can it hang on for 30 more minutes? In the end,
it reminded me of a bit. Do you remember that final? It was Real Atletico, and Real equalised at the end. I feel like if City had equalised at the end the other night, they probably would have won in extra time, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think they could have. And for what it's worth, you can't discredit the Chelsea's performance, because of the preparation heading into this game. Was City are unbeatable right now. There aren't many teams that are capable of, playing to their tempo, that are capable of putting them under pressure a weekend for a whole night, let alone just the period of the time that they had the ball near the Chelsea penalty area. They just looked favourites from the outset for me. When I found out that they didn't play a DM, it was Guardiola's way of saying, I'm doing nothing but attacking in this game. So my centre backs, yeah, sure, they'll be exposed, but I'd rather that than lose with in a defensive formation, because they didn't have anyone to progress the ball from the back, and also limited the protection as well for Diaz and Stones. So really, he's got himself to blame. In the end, though, yes, the rightful winners earned their corn and won the match, and Chelsea, more or less, it was the lesser of two evils, because you just think as United fans, our affinities with Chelsea and Manchester City are Jekyll and Hyde, really. One's more evil than the other. While locally, City are the more, in preference, the more annoying team to deal with. We've had much more like a rivalry with Chelsea in the last decade, I would say, than we've had with Man City. So it doesn't harm me as much, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the last 20 years, isn't it? Chelsea being the kind of... Because when I was younger, for the first about 10 years of my life, I mean, we were rivaling Chelsea, because you think Mourinho came in, won those leagues, Mourinho left, but then for the 3 years we won the leagues, we rivaled Chelsea twice and Liverpool once, I believe. And then we were fighting Chelsea for league titles the season after and the season after that, and then it was City, I believe, twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been broadly Chelsea. I mean, there is a question I've got to ask. This is really playing devil's advocate. I'll tell you my view on this question first, because I don't want it to sound like a loaded question. So people are saying Tuchel has been at Chelsea for 6 months and has won the Champions League. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been there for 3 years, 2 years, and hasn't won one. Now, personally, my immediate caveat to this would be Chelsea spent more than anyone in Europe in the summer, but it would also be not necessarily so I think on starting 11s, we're pretty equal. Maybe we're a bit better, but their bench is insane. Like Pulisic, Ziyech, Giroud, Kovacic, Zuma. I mean, Kepa's an £18 million goalkeeper, for God's sake, And I think that's kind of the difference. And both City and Chelsea have incredible benches. So that would be my caveat to it. Obviously, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be winning trophies, and I think he should have won one by now. But that would be my defence. But what is your view on this kind of notion that people are making that, it's an indictment on Solskjaer that Chelsea have won that trophy?
That's a bit weird. I don't get the idea behind it, if I'm honest with you. Like, at the end of the day, clubs do this or owners at clubs do this because they're not happy with the direction the club is going at when at the point of the season when they start thinking about changing a manager, and you're starting to then question, like, as a fan, you start to question, is it going to be the right move to move him on at the point of the season of which you are trying to recover whatever situation you're in, be it at the bottom of the league or near mid-table, you're trying to sneak into the Champions League or Europa League spots. Realistically, what Chelsea did was just, I think in the end, was just based on form in the Premier League, not so much Champions League form, because they ran away with it in the Champions League group stage. That pretty much was a dominant effort by them. But Lampard only he lost his job on the grounds that he wasn't able to keep them in a sustained push in the Premier League. And it looked for a while that they weren't going to be capable of getting into the top four in the season. So the next best thing they could do was try and get into the European spots in 5th and 6th. But I think for Abramovich and co, it's not enough. They want Champions League football. It's what they are. That's what they paid the money to build the team for, to play consistent Champions League football. And ultimately, it proved that, when sacking Lampard opened the door for Chelsea to try and change the way the team played. And credit where credit's due. He's worked wonders in 6 months. But there's not always going to be that, level of fortune with manager changes in the season. You're going to get one or two that will do well and can probably perform to a standard. Whereas there are others who've seen this last season, in fact, like West Brom or
Spurs.
Yeah, Spurs as well. In Europe, there's been a few cases like that as well, where managers who've had a tough time at the start of the season were sacked. We've just seen the absolute culling in Serie A. Even though the season's over, the
it's
culling of managers there, and then the reappointments of many, like just a roller coaster of changes. So it's clear to see, no matter what, there is always going to be like a level of effort being or stress being put on the manager to succeed instantly. And okay, Tuchel's had the relatively capable tools in the players that he had to be able to pull it off. In the end, I feel like Chelsea earned the right to win the Champions League, just being better than City on the night. Over the course of the knockout phase, they did well to beat Real Madrid and Porto.
Did very well. Yeah.
So, they on a normal day, I would not, I guess Real Madrid or Atletico, on any given day, I'd rule them out. But I think this Tuchel's side is a whole different side to the one that we saw earlier on in the season with Lampard in charge, where he struggled to get the best out of Werner, Havertz, and others in the team. He's not able to find a system that suited them efficiently, so they could win games consistently.
Depth, wasn't he, Frank Lampard?
Yeah. So I feel like it's a big moment for them. It's sort of, let's say, balances out the way football's worked out this week with our failure in the Europa League and City's failure in the Champions League. So,
do you not think, though, with going back to what we were saying about Chelsea, that I think the reason it works at Chelsea for them to sack their managers is the same reason it works at Madrid. You have a core. What Chelsea do every few years, they build a core of really good players that kind of just carry themselves through regardless of a manager. I mean, look at when Avram Grant came in after... Yeah. He came after Mourinho, didn't he?
Yeah, he came in after Mourinho was sacked.
Yeah, so Avram Grant came in, and you look at the team and you go, you've got John Terry, Ashley Cole, Petr Cech, Frank Lampard, Essien, Ballack, Drogba, Malouda. Really incredible players. Great. Same when Ancelotti comes in. I think the one Chelsea manager I look back on in the last 15 years or so, other than Mourinho, obviously, where I go, you didn't just come into a team and inherit players, you actually did something pretty incredible. For me personally would be Antonio Conte, because he came into a Chelsea side that had just come 10th. Because you've got to remember, like the other managers, Ancelotti inherited, I know they hadn't won the league the year before, but a winning team really. Avram Grant did, Scolari did, Villas-Boas did, Lampard did to some extent.
I just want to say, I'm looking at Diogo Dalot's Portugal. He's playing right now, and they've just gone 4-3 up against Italy in extra time. It was a brilliant goal as well. That's why I said good goal just then. It was a great work move. So I'm happy for Diogo because I think he's vice captain of the side playing this evening. So yeah, big props to him. Yeah, big props there.
Good on him.
Huh?
Yeah, good on Dalot. I mean, we can talk about that later on, actually, whether you want him to come back. That's we're
going to cover transfers and all that later, so we don't defect the original conversation we were having. But Chelsea.
Like Conte, I see him. You could argue Conte, to some extent, did a more impressive job than Mourinho did, I think, the second time he came back. Obviously, the first time was different because it was the first time, but Conte, the reason he's a brilliant manager is because he took players like Marcos Alonso, Victor Moses. I know he brought in David Luiz, but he brought David Luiz in. He assembled these kind of players who had this perception of being very average, and he made them into this really formidable winning team. And I can't think of many other managers that come in and the reason down to them winning the league is so down to the manager, because it was Conte's tactics that won them the league. Because I remember they lost 3-0 to Arsenal, I believe. Conte changes to this 5 at the back system and they just stormed it for weeks on end, and they won it. And then even in his dip, they won the FA Cup. And I think he is a really incredible manager. What is your opinion on Conte? And obviously, because we were saying about the merry-go-round in Serie A, obviously it's crazy over there. But what's your opinion on Conte? Where do you think he'll go next? And I'm going to throw in a massive curveball. Hypothetically, would you take him at Manchester United at some point in time? Not now, obviously, but at some point.
Yeah, you ask a reasonable question. I can't see a reason why we shouldn't have this discussion. But when I think about it, and it's something that you've got to really sit down and contemplate exponentially over time. What we've done with Ollie has been more beyond them. I wouldn't say overstated. It's nothing more than successful. Yes, it hasn't brought the pots home or some silverware, sadly. But what it has done is stabilize the club a little bit. It has improved the team. He's improved the team in various positions and has encouraged youth players to start, fighting to get into the first team. They have a reason now to challenge for the first team because Solskjaer is the kind of man who will give a chance to a young player if he feels they have the opportunity granted to them, permitting injuries or other scenarios that may affect the squad. So, the likes of Galbraith, McNeil, Hannibal, and Alanga, for example, are all and Will Fish as well. All these guys, Levitt, I shouldn't forget about him. He's going to the Euros this summer. All these guys have a chance next season when I understand they're going on loan, or if they do get in the first team, have a wonderful chance to prove themselves. Back onto, though, the overall question. Conte, for me, he is a very good winning manager. He has he's got an interesting choice of tactics for me. Since he switched to 3 at the back after they lost to Arsenal by 3-0 in 2016, that helped them get in that little run that led them to winning the league. Ever since then, I just think that he's struggled to find the best system at Chelsea to be able to perform to the standards that they needed to perform in Europe and in domestic competition. Ultimately, when he left, I knew the next job would be in Italy. And because that's where he's comfortable, with not only understanding of the game and also the fact that the teams over there, with no disrespect to Serie A, it's a very good league. It's an exciting league as well. It does, however, you do have those odd teams that do not really compete against those sides in the top 6, of the Italian league. So Conte's had it relatively easy to set teams up to play against them, meaning he knows how to play against a low block. He may also know how to play against a side that is willing to sit back and do nothing all night and just defend and come away with a point or gets away with a cheeky goal on the counter-attack. He's also been capable, for me, of bringing in talent he feels are, I won't say average, but are looking pretty, are looking like they have the potential to move into that top class category, but need that extra push. And he can give players the extra push. There's a lot of ex-Premier League players who've gone there now and played under him into this last season, who I think have been, I won't say rejuvenated, but have been, given a second lease of life by him. A few of our old friends like Young Damian and Sanchez the Snake have all been given a chance. And yes, they've actually thrived on those opportunities. So, they've benefited tenfold there into Milan on that front. If he were to come to United, though, my worry is we probably are going to end up seeing that negative style of football again, which I'm very reserved about. And I think I can gather by your response that's the same with you. We have already seen quite a lot of that kind of football at Old Trafford in the last decade. The Van Gaal period, while it was promising attacking football and something different to what we've seen under Ferguson and Moyes, it ultimately didn't work because he didn't get the targets he wanted, even though we spent large amounts of money in that period with Di Maria and others. Memphis didn't work, and Memphis in this team today would be a revelation because of the fact that it is open and he can actually, if he wanted to, play as the lead man up front and break into the spaces that Martial sometimes, when he isn't on form, doesn't break into. He does the job there. And I'm sure now I'm sure the Mourinho style of play will also come back with Conte in charge. I'm not going to say that it's impossible for Conte to be Manchester United manager. I can see them thinking about getting a big name in if Solskjaer doesn't work out. Ultimately, yes, I can see it, but I just don't think that he will be able to get the best out of the amount of the players that we have now. He'll have a lot of quality in the team for sure, but can he get on with them? Can he be that person to take them the extra mile and push them even further than where they already are now? Because this is still average age is what, like 26, 27? So this is somewhat of a young squad. I think we've got a good few years left in this team, but
yeah,
I mean, it'd have to go really wrong for that to happen.
Yeah, it's. Do you know what? It's strange. I think obviously I don't want Solskjaer to be sacked. I want Solskjaer to stay
as long as
definitely next season. See what happens with him next season. If he gets the backing from the board, he has no excuses not to win things. I'm not going to defend it if he doesn't win things after getting backed. But the one thing we haven't tried since Ferguson left, if hypothetically Solskjaer, let's say in a lovely world, Solskjaer wins the treble next year and he decides to leave, okay, which I'm sure is going to happen. The one thing we haven't appointed in terms of managers is an experienced manager who plays attacking football.
Yeah.
We've not done it. We had David Moyes, who, I mean, I don't know what Moyes was. Let's just write him off. So Van Gaal was brilliant manager, but very... I don't even know if I'd call him conservative. He was conservative, but he just looked more conservative in the Premier League than he would in other leagues. Mourinho is obviously very conservative as well. Then you come to Solskjaer, who plays the right way, but obviously isn't the most experienced. It's kind of crazy to me. We've not actually tried bringing in an experienced manager that plays attacking football. I mean, I was talking to my friend about this yesterday because there was a tweet out, someone saying about when Ferguson left, who did you want? And I remember at the time I wanted Jurgen Klopp for these reasons. Now, obviously, we're not going to get Jurgen Klopp. And a couple of years later, I wanted Ancelotti, and we're not going to get Ancelotti. So, I mean, it's a really hard question to answer. I realise this, but who would you say currently is an experienced manager that plays attacking, fun football that you would appoint to Manchester United that has a proven track record of winning? Obviously, other than Pep and Klopp, because we're not getting them.
The obvious duo. Well, they were. To be honest, we had that chance when Ferguson left, and sadly, it never happened. But if I were, let's say if I'm CEO right now, I want, as you mentioned, the profile being a manager who has experience and delivers attacking football. There are very few names I could attribute to players who can give the players the motivation needed to play that kind of football. I'm going to say, I mean, an old companion of the show who I staunchly loved him for a while. I think his name is Mehdi. He was on the show a while ago. Suggested Erik ten Hag. And I can't rule out Ten Hag. He's got very good, he's got a very good track record in Holland. Serial winner with Ajax. He's developed so much young talent through the system over there, but plays as much attractive football as possible. Thing is, you're gonna need to, like he was as our goalkeeper, pry him out of Edwin van der Sar's hands, and that's not going to be very easy. With especially he just sign a new contract over there, so it might not be so simple. Whereas if we're looking at people, I think we could potentially get if we did have a limited option. Should start, for example, if Solskjaer does have it horribly wrong in mid-season, for example. Somewhat, but ideally, I'd like them to have that final mentality or the ability just to get through a tough game such as the Europa League final or such. It sounds a bit cheeky, but he did beat us last week. I could see a case for Unai Emery only because, and I don't forgive me, it sounds a bit ludicrous, but I can see a case for it because when given the right tools and he doesn't focus solely on defending, he attacks so well with the good players, and he did that with Arsenal a lot during his time there. For what it's worth, I can see potential with him with this current team to push it forward. Yes, he won't be able to he doesn't speak good English. He doesn't have the strong linguistic skills needed, but I think he can comfortably set United up in a way to be able to be difficult to beat against the bottom sides. More importantly, get results against them, scoring and hopefully he can help that attack build a bit more. But more importantly, with that experience, deliver silverware, which is what the club demand. Right. Finally, one more I would just suggest. It might be just a little, left field and a bit out there. If I were to get someone in who knows how to attack, sadly, he is rather like. Remember, I'm not sold into this Poch idea or anything like that, but he does play attacking football, which is something we demand. Playing attacking football, I can see the idea, but I wouldn't want it to happen simply because there's that element of, once again, has he won a major competition? No. So you've got to do that if you're going to be a United manager. Serial winners are needed here.
This is the exact problem, right? So you people sit there and say, let's get rid of Solskjaer. Yeah. Solskjaer. So then you go, okay, who can you get instead of Solskjaer? And you've just named to me Unai Emery, Pochettino, and Erik ten Hag. I think Erik ten Hag probably is not the worst idea in the world. But then you look at Pochettino. Is it really worth sacking Solskjaer for Pochettino? Can we honestly say, hand on heart, that Pochettino would have gotten us over the line in that European final?
Not a chance.
I don't think we can. And then you're looking. So basically, what the point I'm getting at here is when Solskjaer leaves, I can guarantee it's going to be a manager that is very attritional, it's very conservative, and it'll be anything to win at all. And we'll be back to the Mourinho days because there is not many managers other than Pep and Klopp out there that play attractively and win. And that's why I get people's frustrations with Ollie. I get it. It's tough losing it. But do you really can you honestly say Pochettino would win us European final? Can you honestly say Pochettino would win us the league? I mean, I suspect that if Pochettino had done the job Ollie had done, I suspect Pochettino would be getting a lot of credit for the job he's done. Because,
yes.
I mean, I think Manchester United's danger at the moment, I tweeted this the other day, we're at a crossroads. We either go to where Liverpool went to with Klopp after they lost some finals, or we go to where Spurs went, where it was just, we've peaked. I hope we go to where Liverpool went, but let's say we do go to where Spurs went. Where's the sense in hiring Pochettino? I've never understood it at all. I mean, I get to an extent the people who say, let's just get Conte in and win, because at least you're going, okay, we get it, we're sacrificing stuff, but we're going to win. But I don't get the people who go, oh, let's sack Solskjaer and get Pochettino or Ralph Hasenhüttl or Eddie Howe. It just makes no sense to me at all. And that's why, unless it goes really wrong with Ollie, I just don't think I'm going to turn on him, because if there was an alternative out there that I look at and go, yeah, he's going to win us everything, playing nice football, yeah, let's go for him. But while that's not the case, if Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp become available for some weird reason, they want to come to United, then I'll go, okay, we're not doing, and next season we're not doing well, yeah, get them in. But beyond those two, I just don't see who is out there that fixes all our problems, because you bring in someone like Conte and then people are going to have to deal with the fact that their favourite players are getting sold. Pogba might go, I don't know, or he might stay. But, players like Pogba, Martial, Greenwood, Rashford, etc., fan favourites. if someone like Conte comes in, at least one of them is getting binned off. Probably Luke Shaw as well. Players like that the fans like. One of them is getting binned off.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, you bring in Pochettino, and then Pochettino is, you could argue he's quite similar to Ollie in some senses. Except for the fact Ollie's actually won league titles as a manager. Pochettino comes in, and then you go, oh yeah, we've got to give him 2-3 years till he wins anything. So I don't see. This is why I don't get this full Ollie out thing. I get criticism, but I don't get it, because if we get Conte in, people will moan so much because, yeah, we might get an FA Cup at the end of it. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
We might win the league, and if we do, I'll take pain for winning a league. But people forget when Mourinho was there, no one liked him at the end, because there's very varying sections of our fan base. There's the sections of our fan base, like myself and you, that want to see attractive football. There's obviously the fan base, sections of the fan base say let's win at all costs, which I get, to be fair, it makes sense. And there's the section of the fan base who are kind of more orientated to supporting players like Pogba or, I don't know, Bruno, Rashford, Greenwood.
Yeah.
Getting Conte in would probably upset all of them, because presuming let's say he doesn't win, he's not going to be playing nice football, and he will bench Pogba or Bruno or Rashford or Greenwood at some point, and then everyone's going to get upset about that. I think we've got to understand with Ollie, he is doing really well to get the best out of some players who, before he came in, Shaw was not in a good state. Rashford was not in a good state. Greenwood obviously emerging, but I think even players like Pogba have matured a bit under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Mm-hmm.
I think even you could say Maguire's improved, Fred has improved, McTominay's improved. And I just think it'd be stupid now. You build up this improvement and you build up all this work and you go, right, let's get rid of him, because then you might as well just got rid of him last summer. If you just don't care about improving players or anything like that, he might as well have gone last summer. That's why I just don't get this clamour for him to go. Don't get me wrong. If we're 18th in December, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, look, he's improved Rashford and all this, he should stay. No. If we're 18th in December, he should be gone. And I will say this. But while we have just come second, I don't think you can make any tangible argument, really, for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be sacked. And obviously, next season, I think, would you agree that next season is make or break for Ole? We either go up or we go down. Yeah.
I think we've contemplated a lot since the final, and because I like saying this. Last week, I would have liked us to win, because for Ollie, that's a watershed moment, not only because of the coincidences that were involved, but that's his moment where he wins something. He wins silverware. He gets that first trophy, and that hopefully becomes the springboard for him to go on and win 2, 3, or 4 more as he's Man United manager throughout the seasons, if that was to be the case. Losing last week now sort of limits his lifespan at the club, but not in terms of his role as a United legend. That will forever stay intrinsically intertwined into history. But what that does is put him under not so much stress, but just a little bit of pressure, because what has to happen now is he will, I hope, if the promises that have been made by said American person are kept, then I anticipate that he will get sufficient backing for the first team this summer. Enough so that it pleases the fans, and so it allows United to hopefully use these extra players to the best of their possibility. On the flip side, however, if, say, Ollie doesn't exactly get what he wants and United regress next season, I will touch obviously on the other bit about starting next season. But if we do regress next season and he doesn't get everyone he wants, or ideally doesn't get his number one target, I worry that it will then cause more than just divisions in the fan base. it will also cause generally a feeling of uncertainty with the club. He's done as well as he possibly can. Maybe, in fact, he's exceeded expectations, has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in my opinion. He's exceeded them. Simply because he's coming at a time when United 8th in the league, leaded European football. Ultimately, the form after Paris was shocking, we can't deny that. It was absolutely shocking to get knocked out of the FA Cup quarter final stage and then going into the match against Barcelona. We were well and truly ripped apart. We had the challenge of trying to get a good run of games in the final few weeks of the season, but the 4-0 to Everton sort of ruined our hopes that year, and it changed so much and opened so many old wounds for United fans about the Glazer ownership and other aspects of the club that have concerned fans for a long time. So, frankly, I'm not surprised that it got to that point where, you know, he had to get backing even though he's only been there for 6 months. He did a good job. He got United into a position where in the following season, he got us into a position where we qualified for the Champions League on the final day, didn't win the Europa League, semi-finals of the FA Cup and the League Cup as well. We beat City and Chelsea 3 times. It was in modesty, it was a good season for some reasons. And ultimately, the playing goal was to get back in the Champions League. We failed in the group stages, which is poor. We had a bad transfer market, but failed the group stages. Got yet another elimination in the semi-final. FA Cup quarter-final elimination. So really, his season rested on getting second place for United, but also to ensure that we were good enough to be able to beat Villarreal in a European final. Novices at that stage. And ultimately, we didn't. It wasn't, however, on the virtue of 120 minutes. We lost on penalties. Through obviously, I think a freak shootout. Not often does 11 penalties against 10. Not often do you have 10 perfect penalties in a row. Speaking of penalties, Germany win. And they always seem to win them. Basically, scoring 10 penalties in a row, and then the one you miss is the goalkeepers, it's one of the weird anomalies about football. It happens. So you have to cater to that. If the final itself, poor from United's point of view, it's an experience he will have to take and learn quickly. And I'm actually appreciative of what I understand was in the papers recently about his response to losing was not to exactly, go on holiday and let his mind wander for a few weeks. It was actually to go out at 6 a.m., return to Manchester, not spending like a couple hours sleep, and review that game again and review other aspects of United's season, the bits where it went wrong for him, and then assess it. I'm sure him and whoever was around at the time, whether it was Mickey Phelan or Kieran McKenna, etc., were there to assess it with him. I hope that they dissected as much as possible with what was wrong with Man United, because in that final, because I think a lot of our season's problems all happened in that game, and it's something that I find to be not only bizarre but also to be needs to be learned upon sooner rather than later, simply because we've been good in the Premier League, somewhat average in the Champions League, because elimination in the group stage is not good. We've been very good in the Europa League. FA Cup has been strange, to say the least. And the League Cup is, the League Cup. We got to 2 semi-finals in a row, haven't beaten the same team twice. So what he will learn a lot. He will also need to obviously get what he needs in the team quickly. If he gets the players he needs, I'm confident he gets a good start to the season next season. That's a good base to start on. And then we see what happens when we get to mid-season, February, March time in 2022. And if it's good, if it's looking good, and United are in the Champions League, in the last stage of the Champions League, then we can say, again, it's another good season. But essential to that as well, he has to win, I feel, if we are in the Champions League, one of the 2 domestic cups, because the Champions League on its own is very difficult, and I'm quite sure everyone's going to strengthen next season. So that's a problem we'll have to consider. But a domestic trophy next season, League or FA Cup, either of which would be ideal for United. Preference, FA Cup, because we've got that little record with Arsenal, race with Arsenal for the record. So we kind of need to catch up with them, having seen them win a few in the last few years. So if we do, it doesn't matter which one we win, as long as we get something, that would be good for Solskjaer. So he's got to hopefully get all of the things right. And I hope whatever he did after the final last week, I hope it's enough for him to be able to say to the board, after seeing all this, I need this player, this player, this player, this player. And then hopefully it will lead on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree with you, actually. And it's, like you said, it depends on the backing. I mean, obviously, we could get in a catch-22. I mean, this would be proper Glazer tactics where they don't back Solskjaer. And yet Solskjaer kind of does all right, like we have this season again, but then he gets sacked because he's not won anything. But then it's it's checkmate then, isn't it? Because then he's not been backed, but he's actually done a good job with the players he's got and come second. But then obviously fans want to win something, which I understand. It's been 4 or 5 years, and then he's gone. So it's really a difficult thing. Final thing I'd like us to talk about briefly is a certain man managing England, Gareth Southgate. I want to know your thoughts. I know it's non-United related, but on the trend...
No, remember, this is waffle. We're not exactly talking about Man United. We kind of just did without meaning to, but it is a waffle, so we don't have to worry about what we talk about here.
What do you think about Trent not going to the Euros? Because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I just think it's crazy, because if he chooses to play in a system, especially that has wing backs, why would you not bring Trent? I get it. If you're playing against France and you're defending, play someone else, but the idea of not taking Trent to me at all is really crazy. I mean, looking at it, I'd probably take Trent, even if it sacrificed someone like taking Sterling, because I think Trent, just as a footballer, holds so much value, because England have quite a lot of inside forwards in the mould of Sterling. I think Sterling's a great player, but you look at the inside forwards they have, kind of, I guess, Sancho, Sterling, Rashford, you could probably put Foden and Mount even in that thing, Grealish. I think Alexander-Arnold just holds more weight in the sense that he's such a skilled crosser. What are your thoughts on it?
Tough one. It's a tough one, Alexi, mate. It's a tough one. I mean, just to get this out of the way, I'm quite sure a lot of the England fans, fans of England right now, are still feeling a little bit low from the last World Cup. So, and then obviously the failed Nations League run in 2019. I think we should, realistically, while Holland were very good, we should have beaten them. So I think the general feeling with this England team right now is not that it's not good enough yet, but it's almost there. It just needs, I hope, enough of the motivation not to crumble at a crucial time in a competition. So when you're familiar. We've been here before, Alexi. We've been here before. It's similar to Man United, really. With England, you have the problem of dealing with a massive occasion, such as the semi-final. And twice we've gone to semi-finals in competitions, which we've done well in the early stages of, and then got to the knockout phase. We struggle to be able to perform when asked to. So with this England team, and if whether Arnold's in it or not, tomorrow we'll find out who it is, the 26 he picks. He's going to pick for the tournament. Whether Alexander Arnold's in that team or not, I hope it's because that Southgate will want to either, in two cases, use this team to play the same way they did at the World Cup, with composure, with a bit with possession, with patience, and also clinical potency. That's what I think he wants this team to thrive on. Being confident enough to say, we're going to control the game, we're going to have the ball, and if you want it, you have to come back and come and get it from us. I don't buy into the fact, though, that he's a great manager. I sense with him that he's still lacking certain qualities to be able to push England forward. And with the crop of players he's watched all season, these that he has got in his hands right now, he's probably got, I'm not going to tempt fate, I'm touching wood when I say this, he's probably got, in terms of youth and in terms of energy, in terms of what the potential is for some of these players, some of the best England players we've had for a long time. So with that in consideration, if he does decide to drop Trent Alexander-Arnold tomorrow, it's simply because he's sticking with the same plan that he initially went with at the start of the World Cup 3 years ago. So Paul McKeown has picked up this question, and it's related to what you're saying. Would you have taken AWB to the Euros in case England come against France, for example?
Yeah.
And you
so
after this too, Alexi.
This is what doesn't make sense to me about Southgate. If he doesn't take Trent or Wan-Bissaka, if he takes neither of them, it makes no sense. I get the idea of maybe choosing one, you prioritise one, but taking neither is crazy because it's quite clear. Alexander-Arnold is the best going forward possibly in the world as a fullback, but he's not great defensively. Wan-Bissaka is, on his day, defensively, probably the best right back around, really. I know there was probably one slightly better, but in terms of one-on-one defender, he's the best out there. So I don't get this school of thought where you take neither. It just makes no sense. For me, what I would do, obviously I'm not England manager, there's a reason I'm not. If I was England manager, though, I would take Arnold and Wan-Bissaka and go, all right, Arnold, you can play against Scotland, for example, a lesser team. I'm sure Robbie will like me saying that. A lesser team that you expect to beat. And then Wan-Bissaka, you're playing against Croatia, who are going to come onto us more. And when we progress, like Paul McEwen said, if we progress and play against a France, you play Wan-Bissaka. But if we progress and play against Iceland, bad choice of team after last time, but Iceland, for example, you play Alexander-Arnold. So, yeah, it really confuses me that it appears he's going to be taken neither. It just makes no sense to me at all, because it's clear to me, for various reasons, for very different reasons, they're the two best right backs. Clearly.
Strange,
so
isn't it?
What's going on? I mean, what would you take? Would you take one of them?
Oh, I would drop very easily Kyle Walker. In terms as a fullback, I'd drop him because I want my best right backs in the country to play in those games. The benefit for us as United fans is that Wan-Bissaka gets a break. He doesn't have to worry about the Euros. I think he needs, heart of hearts, though, he would love to have been in that team. I am sure, all things considered, he would love to have been in that team. And I think he'd have thrived in it as well as he's done before for Man United and in his early period at Crystal Palace. Even then, I would have thought he would have gotten in the team when he was at Palace. But, it's beyond me why he's gone with the option of sticking with Kyle Walker. I'd rather put Kyle Walker in at centre back because that's where he played so well for England at the World Cup. He became an important player in that position because we were playing with such a lack of pace in the middle of that back five. So having him in that back three was a very important asset in the team because he covered the ground that would normally be occupied for an Mbappe, for a Neymar, or also if we ran into France or Brazil. But ultimately, we came up against Croatia with no pace. We had barely any pace in the team, and we still struggled against that. But anyway, no, I'd want my best right backs in the team, no matter what. And I'd drop Walker from playing in that position into centre back, meaning one of the centre halves would have to leave the team as well. But then again, yeah.
Well, if you look at it, I mean, we're talking are we talking Connor Cody? We're talking Tyrone Mings. I mean, you'd much rather have Kyle Walker or Arnold or Wan-Bissaka in the squad instead of him. And it obviously it depends on if he is playing a back three or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it just taking neither. It's like when a parent, like two kids are fighting over you, like playing on the computer, and the parent goes, "Well, actually, neither of you using the computer now. You've ruined it." And it's like, what's the point of all that then? You know, it just seems really, really strange. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, and it looks to be masterstroke, but even from set pieces, Alexander Arnold is superb. You know, even from that. And I mean, I'm not defending him defensively. Sounded a bit of a weird thing to say. I'm not defending him from a defensive point of view.
Yes.
Because I think he is suspect, but
yeah,
you'd just be crazy not to take him. It's just, and I mean, to be honest, Southgate. If we had Dani Alves currently, he wouldn't take him or Marcelo. He wouldn't though, would he? He wouldn't. And I personally, maybe it's just my approach to things in general. I'd rather have like Arnold great at attacking, Wan-Bissaka great at defending than a few fullbacks who are okay at both. Like, why don't you just go for specialists? It's just like, it just really doesn't sit right with me. And I mean, what Mason Greenwood, England, discuss.
Ooh, it's a topic of interest. Would he be, like, in my honest opinion, he deserves it. Just on form. Recent form alone, he deserves it. And the fact that this season he has progressed tenfold from his debut season in the Premier League and in the Europa League as well, where he thrived. He thrived so well on the scene. This season, he's gone and taken it up another level. And I thought, while yes, his numbers don't look as good as they did last season, he's still looking the part. He's playing the part. And he's got, if I'm not mistaken, only him and Foden are the two players that we have that are able-footed. They can use both their feet. So they could, I wouldn't rule the possibility out of Mason Greenwood getting in the team. It would be very harsh if he was dropped by Southgate, because that would encourage then him to think that, okay, I'm probably one of your best players on the technical front and on with the ball at my feet. I'm also one of the most, I'm very good with striking the ball as well from any angle with either foot. Give me the space, I'll thrive on it. So it rocks me a little bit sometimes when I start thinking, if he does drop him, is it because he doesn't rate him as a player on that side? On the right, we don't have a lot of right-sided players. Like us, we only depend on Mason to play in that position as a development position while he's learning his trade as a striker. That's his natural starting place. We have Jadon Sancho on that side. Raheem Sterling originally was a right winger, but he moved to the left because he wanted to cut on his right more to join the likes of Grealish, Rashford, Harvey Barnes, who broke into the England team. To name a few, those are just some of the players we have in that position. Too many of them who love doing that cutting in motion onto their right-hand side. So we're kind of blessed on the left. We do have a problem on the right. So I'm hoping that if he does take Sancho, he brings Greenwood in as an option on that side as well. Unless he has faith in Sterling, I think that's probably the case in which he will leave Greenwood out. But I think he's got a chance. He's got every chance based on his good form the last few weeks of the season, and having Cavani as a mentor as well, to be able to learn how to properly attack, to deal with defenses that are struggling, you struggle against. He's performed exceptionally well this season under Cavani's tutelage. So if he can use that in his arsenal and improve next season on top of what he's done this season, who knows what Mason Greenwood will be in the next 12 months? Because the World Cup is just around the corner after this European Championship. So
God, it is, isn't it? Yeah,
in December next year.
It is.
December next year. So
crazy.
Literally, it's already a crazy football season. We've had about the most compressed season we know. And then we have all Euros, and then the next season starts they'll have like what normally would be the World Cup is vacated so that for some reason they have time off in that period. But they play half of the 22 season before stopping and then going to Qatar. It's beyond me, really. It's beyond me how they're going to do it. But
do you remember? It was crazy. Do you remember last season we played Sevilla, and like 2 weeks later we were playing Palace at home in the league, and it was too much. Like it actually felt
I think it was 3 weeks. Yeah, it was 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks.
I just didn't.
It was 3 weeks after. Yeah,
I think no one felt ready for it. Really, normally I'm like really like excited for a new season. Obviously, I was, but it was clear the players weren't ready, managers weren't ready. I think us as fans weren't really ready for it, and it was just too much. And like you said, that 2022 World Cup, what a stupid idea. I mean, there's a lot of political reasons why it's an awful idea.
It was all Sepp Blatter's fault. Let's remember that. Let's all blame Sepp Blatter for why this is happening. He took the money, thought it was a good idea initially to just take the money and realize, and now the fruits of his labor are growing in front of our faces. So it's his fault. We have the next World Cup we watch will be before Christmas, tucked up in our bedrooms, hugging a cup of hot cocoa or whatever, however comfort spare you have in December, November, December, and just drinking away while you watch World Cup football in the winter. For the life of me, I'm done. I'm done thinking of such a ridiculous idea. It's ridiculous, Alex.
That is crazy. And also, just something that's popped into my head, speaking of crazy things that FIFA and UEFA have done, obviously we've seen the Super League, all that madness, but this week it has emerged that away goals are getting scrapped in knockout competition. Now,
mate, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Seems strange. I mean, the obvious thing is we've now all got to think, in like 2010 we would have gone through against Bayern Munich, etc. Now, I don't know if this is good or bad. I can't work it out. Is it good? Is it just going to mean teams go for it more? Or do you think teams are going to sit back more? I
mean, now matches will go to extra time. That's the most annoying thing. We're probably going to find now this next, I think they're definitely going through with it. There's no regressing on this one. First of all, I am an advocate for the away goals rule for a very specific reason. I like it because you're giving the side who are not at home and didn't concede at home the chance to go away to their opposition's ground in the second leg. If they score, your best bet is you scored 2 goals without a response. They have to score another 2, at least 3, to qualify for the next round. It's giving you the chance of making it double. If you get that opportunity, then tenfold, your chances go up tenfold. As long as you perform well in the first game and don't concede, then you're fine. I enjoy seeing matches being decided by the slender advantage. And it is always good to see it. But the other annoying thing is, why would you scrap it knowing that there are some teams who would have never played in Europe before, who I'm sure will go to away matches wanting a draw, having got some kind of advantage in the first leg, or had disadvantage first leg, and just go away and suddenly, nick a goal, and it puts the other team under pressure, meaning to have to score. It adds a level of tension to it, adds a level of pressure, which I find it exciting, honestly. In the EFL here in England, I find it a bit exciting, to be honest. I enjoyed it. Look at Paris.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely bang on, because while you've been speaking, I've been thinking of a few examples. And do you remember City Spurs?
Yeah.
Last year. Incredible. City Monaco, it seems to always be. So now, because I believe Monaco won 2-0 against City, right?
3-1, actually. They won the second leg 3-1 after losing 5-3.
But because they
Six
scored
on aggregates in the end.
because they scored 3 at the Etihad, they got rewarded for it. But it's obviously another. When you dig down, I mean, I've only just realised this while you've been speaking. Then I think you've outlined it very well. It's kind of another elitist rule, isn't it? Because it just gives smaller teams less chance of getting through on kind of these small technicalities. Because ultimately, like we mentioned, in fact, earlier, if Chelsea gone to extra time, City probably would have won. Obviously, we don't know, but we presume it. Real Madrid Atletico, good example. Let's say you've got Juventus Porto from a few weeks ago, a few months ago. If that happens again for whatever reason, or City Monaco happens again, or City Spurs happens. If City Spurs, if that game had gone to extra time, basically what I'm saying, City would have gone through. Now, because of the away goal rule, Spurs went through because it was level. All this does is once again favour the teams with big squads, because more extra time means more favourable outcomes for teams with bigger squads, and it makes it harder for smaller teams, because it's quite obvious that if you're a smaller team playing, let's say you're a Porto playing Real Madrid, it's a lot more difficult to beat them over 120 minutes than it is over 90. And while I think we said this, I remember when we spoke after Ed Woodward resigned and all this, while it was great the Super League went, we're going to see rules like this that are still intrinsically, covertly favouring the elitist clubs. And that's not going to go away, is it?
No. It's a shame, really. It's a real shame. And like I've said many a time, like, yes, we've kind of more or less got football or the main bigwigs of football to regress on the idea. But as fans, we want the game to be improved. Don't get us wrong here. We want improvements in the game. What we don't want, though, is decisions such as the ones like taking away the away goal, or in UEFA matches, or even let's say the 5 subs rules. Those examples there. I mean, like, in the time during the pandemic, you could understand the 5 substitutions, but then saying it's not fair on the smaller clubs by having 5 subs for the big wigs is their excuse to say we didn't win this game because we didn't have 5 substitutes. So what? You have the Champions League for that. You have the FA Cup for that. So do it then. But if in the Premier League you adapt to what the rules then set out for you from the start, if you don't adapt to them, tough luck. There's a lot of things I think rules that have to be. I'm sure the fans will have hopefully huge say in the matter. And I hope there's enough convincing on our part against UEFA's plans to remove the away goals rule, because it has been a catalyst for so many big games in years gone by. And if they take that away, what that means is that you're increasing the stress on players again, because they're playing extra half an hours in tight European quarterfinals, for example, when they just need a goal to qualify for the semis. The least they could do, if it makes any sense, if they're not good, if they don't want away goals in the 90 minutes, how about do as they do here in England, where we have the 90-minute period, the away goals don't count, but then when we go into extra time, then count the away goals. Because that would encourage the team who have those away goals to defend, and the other team who needs them to attack, and they only have half an hour to do it. So it's instant pressure, and on top of which you have your team changing the way they're playing, which originally was catered to trying to win the game in the 90, to actually stressing themselves out for half an hour to win it. Those are things that I've seen with EFL semi-finals in years gone by that have led to decisions such as those. Look good. But in the end, I prefer that it is not scrapped. It has to be maintained. And it's for the not only for the betterment of the game, but for the benefit of those who want an added level of excitement to football. So I hope UEFA get rid of the idea. But whether we know by now that they're not the kind of people to, let's say, give up on such a thing immediately. So we're probably gonna.
And I mean, my final say on this matter is, do you know what? I know we're not in it all the time, but I find the Champions League so exciting to watch. I love it. It's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. We see such
Yeah.
dramas. I think this year was not the most exciting for a while, but in general, we see incredible games. We see, that I know I keep coming back to it. That City Tottenham tie was, I think, the best I've ever seen. I thought it was absolutely superb. In the same year, we had City PSG, we had Ajax Tottenham, Liverpool Barcelona, which I didn't enjoy, but the really incredible games of football that are kind of heightened by this away goal rule. And just stop messing with the bloody thing. Like, we all liked the Euros when it had less teams, and then it's added more teams. And you go, oh, okay, and then it's, oh, let's make a Super League. Oh, actually, no, it's not. And then they go, oh, actually, let's just sabotage the Champions League. And it's just a load of, like, we like football. Just let us have it. I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Why take it away? But yeah, I think, is there anything else you want to bring up, or are we?
Well, I mean, we've got, other than some nonsense apparently regarding Mr. Sancho, we're going to leave that for a special show tomorrow, along with other transfer shenanigans. You may have obviously heard we had a question earlier on from Sire Prince. I'm going to bring it up again, which was an hour ago now. Our top 4 signs for the summer. Well, there's a reason why I haven't answered that question. Tomorrow afternoon, around midday or so, myself and Robbie are going to be doing our first transfer talk of the season, which will be with the United Link, who's a very well followed member of the Man United Twitter community, who obviously gives us a wonderful transfer thread every season. He will be with us at points during the window with myself and at times Robbie to discuss the transfers that are going on, the likelihoods that happen, and obviously with the rumour mill already in full swing long before June has even begun, we're going to dissect even more about the huge implications that are coming up with Man United's transfer business. And with the Euros around the corner, I mean, I'll give you a little bit, just a little bit, because I feel like, you guys are waiting, some of you waiting long enough. Obviously, today there's been high rumours with the fact that Sancho is joining up with the England team shortly. There is a strong possibility with England contacting United, I understand in the papers tomorrow, that they've contacted United to say, if you're going to do any deals with Sancho, you've got to do them before we get into the European Championships, because we want our players to be 100% focused on getting through the tournament. So if you're going to do this deal, do it now. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait until after July is over to get an opportunity to talk to him. And I doubt Dortmund are going to be so kind to us when July comes, because they will have implied to United, you had a nice little bit of time before the Euros. How are you now deciding to regress back to us afterwards when you've had that small period just to pay us the money? Because everything's agreed, obviously. The financial element is the only thing that's left. Personal terms are fine. He's probably going to sign the contract because he's happy with the personal terms, and the agreement was made last year, for God's sake. He wants to come home to England. He's happy. He's done it all he can for Dortmund. He's been professional and hasn't gone on strike about it. But I think ultimately it is one of those that everyone knows by now. It's the world's worst kept secret in football. I'm surprised. It's just United have not stumped up the cash. So hopefully we'll have more news tomorrow, because allegedly June the 1st is apparently when United plan to do something this week before the meeting with the fans on Friday. So we'll have to wait and see. But more on that and other transfer targets tomorrow, about midday, 1 p.m, because I've got something to do in the afternoon. It's going to be baking hot tomorrow here in the UK. So I'm making the most of the outside tomorrow afternoon. And I'm sure you'll do the same, Alexi. As always, a pleasure talking to you. If you want to see more... Yeah, you wanted to waffle tonight, we've waffled. And we'll do this more often throughout this week.
These are my favourite ones where we just talk about random stuff for ages. I just think these are the best ones, because we went from, what were we even talking about at the start? Champions League to away goals and, Conte, and it's just nice, isn't it, to talk about different issues. And I enjoyed it. We'll have to do one of these again soon, Ahmed, because
we will.
So many different things are going on.
I've got good time between now and the Euros. So
because so many different things are going on in the world of football that you can't really put under one umbrella. So we'll do one of these again soon.
Absolutely. There's no name to it. I just called it. I gave it the name Just Some Waffle. So the next one will probably be called Just Some Waffle 2. So if you enjoyed this thing we did tonight, I don't know if you did. Like buttons there on YouTube, and if you want to find out more about what we do or when we go live again, sometimes out of the blue, like today, you please follow us on Trafford Talk on our Twitter and same on Instagram as well. And as always, if you wish to contribute, the comment section is there. We did have one extra question, but I think it was about Ollie in or Ollie out. We've been through this.
I think anyone who follows me on Twitter knows the answer to that question.
And they'll know the same with me, just based on how, like last week I said, how desperate I was for him to win a trophy. And we will discuss that matter another day. But you can do more. You can contribute more in the comments. We're more than happy to. From us, though, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope it appeased some of you who wanted to hear some reckless banter for an hour, and we'll be back very soon with some more. So until the next one, everyone, I'll see you very soon.